Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Craig and I'm a software developer based in the UK, and in this video we're going to learn about how we build a full HTML structure or skeleton that every web page has, plus we're going to start using our first HTML elements. So we'll learn a handful of the most common elements that you'll use every day, and we'll also make our first very basic web page. Before we start, if you like the content on the channel, remember to smash the like button, subscribe and comment, as it really helps with YouTube's algorithm. So let's get started. We'll start by looking at the title element, which is really important for search engines. If I hop over to Google and search for news, the options that are presented to us in the Google search listing come from the titles of pages that Google has indexed. We see a description underneath the title of each listing, and this actually comes from a meta description tag. So if we open Google News in a new tab, we see the name of the listing in Google search also appears in the tab at the top, which, as we've just said, is the title that is in the head section of our page. We can double check that further by right clicking and selecting inspect, and we'll go to the head section, and there you go. We see that the title matches. If we scroll down, we see a meta tag with name equals description. And then we have a content attribute which contains what we see under the title in the Google search. We see here that the head is full of lots of different things, and it's often the case with much larger sites that these will be full of lots and lots of different meta tags. We aren't going to cover every little thing that can go in the head. Instead, we will look at the most important and most commonly used elements that you would find in the head of most websites. So let's head over to VS Code now, and I have created an HTML file that I've called index.html. I'll use Emmet to generate the HTML boilerplate for me using the exclamation mark shortcut. When I hit tab or enter, we have all of this stuff built for us, and we have all of this stuff in our head section. We see that we also have a lang or language attribute added to the opening HTML element. This language attribute specifies that the page is going to be in the English language, and this may differ for you if you are in a country in which English is not the first primary language. Your HTML document will be indexed more effectively by search engines if this language attribute is set, so it will appear correctly in language-specific results, for example. We also see our title attribute, which we saw on the Google News website, and I'll change this from document to the head and meta tags. If I save and then open the file in the browser with Live Server, you will notice that what we've just entered as our title is now displayed in the browser tab. Typically, our title will describe our page or site in some way, and we might also want to include any relevant keywords in the title as well. As the title is what is going to be displayed in search engine results, we want to ensure that what goes in here is relevant and descriptive of our page and its content. Next, we'll look at the description. So we'll have a meta tag. So we'll type meta and hit tab, and Emmet builds it out for us. And inside this, we'll add a name attribute with the value of description. We're also going to need a content attribute, which would be the actual description text itself. And inside this, we're going to put welcome to my site. We are learning all about meta tags. It is important to note here that there is a maximum number of characters that you can have in this content attribute, as the number is the maximum that will display on a screen in a given search engine listing. At the time of recording this video, Google allows a maximum of 158 characters in a website description. Bing and Yahoo allow 168. On mobile devices, this is less, and you would typically want around 120 characters. So do keep your descriptions as succinct as possible and keep them to the point. It's also a good idea to include relevant keywords in your description. So including keywords relevant to the content of your page has the potential to make your page appear higher in searches performed in search engines. So it's good for what is known as SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization. You want people to be able to find your products, services, your music, your blog, or whatever. So do think about selecting your keywords carefully. You want to think about who your target audience is and what kind of thing might they be searching for on Google or in other search engines. Okay, so we have our title and we've added a meta tag which takes care of the description. We know that meta tags give the browser extra information, so here is a good place for us to explore the other meta tags that came with the boilerplate when we generated it with Emmet. The first one that we have is the meta char set or character set, which here is set to UTF-8. UTF-8 is concerned with character encoding for email and web pages. So here our meta char set is telling the browser to encode any characters in the UTF-8 format. It's a universal character set that includes pretty much any character from any language, be it English, Russian, Japanese, or whatever. And so with this meta tag, your web page will be able to handle displaying any language. So it's always a good idea to include this as standard in your head section. Next, we have a meta viewport tag, which essentially defines the viewport or the visible area of a web page, and it is required to make our web pages responsive and suitable for all devices. We'll cover responsive design in some detail during the CSS section of videos, and here it is set to the width of the device that it's being viewed upon, and the initial scale defines the initial zoom level. This value can help when you're changing orientation, say on a phone or tablet, or doing something like preventing default zooming. Without this, responsive sites just won't work. We can have a scale set, which sets the maximum or minimum amount that a user can zoom in and out, or we can also prevent users from zooming in and out at all if we wish. And if we did want to prevent zooming in and out for some reason, we could just use the attribute property of user-scalable equals no. The third meta tag here makes our web page compatible to be displayed on older legacy browsers like Internet Explorer. It's not hugely necessary these days, to be honest, but there are still a decent amount of non-computer literate people using the internet that might not be regularly updating their browsers. These numbers are incredibly tiny, less than a percentage point of the entire internet, but it doesn't hurt just to put this in the head and help these guys out if they want to view your site. I should say at this point that you might notice these meta tags are all self-closing. They don't have opening and closing tags like the general rule of HTML, like most elements would have, as these meta tags are not wrapping any content or any other elements. In addition to the meta tags that we have, we could also add an author tag if the author wanted to be identified. You could put a meta tag with the name of the author and the content of the author's name. So for now, I'll just put John Doe. Like the description, we could also have a meta tag for keywords. When we use the keywords meta tag, we write keywords that are specific to our site. And these used to be really, really important in search engines a few years back, but meta keywords aren't as relevant as they once were. The major search engines cracked onto websites that were undertaking what's known as black hat practices like keyword stuffing. So meta keywords are no longer really an important part of the Google ranking algorithm, and more attention these days should be paid to title tags and meta descriptions. Meta keywords can still play a small part in communicating your message, so it doesn't hurt to include it, but limit these to around 8 keywords or so and don't rely on it. So in ours, we're going to put HTML, CSS, JavaScript, we'll have responsive design, Sass, Less, React, Angular, and Bootstrap, for example. Lastly, these aren't meta tags, but we can add external CSS and JavaScript files in the head section as well. These are most commonly applied to a web page using the link element for CSS and the script element for JavaScript. We can put the script element in the head, but it doesn't have to go there, and in fact it is probably better to put it at the bottom of the body to make sure that all of the HTML content has been passed by the browser before it tries to run the JavaScript. The browser reads our HTML files from top to bottom, from line 1 down, and we want our page content to display before our JavaScript gets to work. Scripts may take a little time to run if there's lots in there, and this can add to the page loading time if scripts are run first. Plus, if JavaScript tries to access any elements that aren't yet known to the browser, that haven't yet been rendered to the page, this could cause the browser to return an error. So what we're actually going to do is add our script at the bottom of the body, which is better practice, though it can conceivably go in the head as well, as I said. So we'll put in a comment of JavaScript, and then we'll use the Emmet shortcut of script : src. In the source attribute goes the location of the script, and for this we're just going to put something like app.js. The .js is the extension that is used for JavaScript files. We don't currently have an app.js file. It doesn't exist within our file structure at present, as we just have an HTML file. The link element always goes inside the head of our document, and it takes two attributes: the rel, which is the relationship, which indicates that it's this document style sheet, and href, which contains the path to the style sheet file. It's going to build that out for us with a path to a style sheet named style.css. Again, this doesn't exist currently within our file structure just at the moment, but we could easily create that when we need it, and that would already be linked due to us including this link tag in the head. Okay, so we'll leave things there. This has been a short video to address some of the things that we would typically find in the head of an HTML document, and also to look at some of the many meta tags available to us. These are all we need to know about right now, and I'm going to include some links in the description for you guys for further reading on meta tags, so be sure to have a little look at those. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe, comment, share, and all of that good stuff, and reach out to us on social media. The details for everything is below in the description. So thanks for watching. I really do appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next video.